In the wild world of New York City politics, you think you've seen it all. Then a top city official, a guy running for mayor, gets arrested. On camera. This isn't a scene from a movie, this is Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. The man at the center of this storm is Brad Lander. For those who don't follow the day-to-day drama of NYC governance, Lander is the city's comptroller. Think of him as the chief financial officer, the guy who makes sure the city's money is being spent correctly. He's been in this role for a while, building a reputation as a progressive watchdog, always ready to call out waste and inefficiency. It's a job that requires a sharp eye for numbers and an even sharper tongue for press conferences, both of which Lander has in spades. But Lander isn't just counting the city's beans anymore. He has thrown his hat into the incredibly crowded ring for the New York City mayoral race. He is a prominent Democratic candidate, trying to stand out in a field that includes heavyweights like former Governor Andrew Cuomo. Lander's campaign is built on a platform of progressive ideals, championing everything from affordable housing to immigrant rights. He's known for being hands-on, showing up at rallies, and getting directly involved in community issues. This approach has earned him a dedicated following, but it has also put him on a collision course with powerful forces, including, as we now know, federal law enforcement agencies. His decision to run for mayor has transformed him from a city bureaucrat into a political lightning rod. Every move he makes is now scrutinized not just for its impact on the city's finances, but for its potential to win votes. Lander has positioned himself as a champion for the vulnerable, someone who will stand up to what he sees as unjust policies. This often means putting himself in the middle of tense situations, a strategy that is both a political asset and a personal risk. His supporters see it as courageous leadership, while his critics view it as political grandstanding. This latest incident, however, takes that dynamic to a whole new level, raising serious questions about the lines between activism, politics, and the law. The arrest has thrust Lander, a figure well known in New York political circles, onto the national stage. Before this, he was one of several candidates vying for attention in a chaotic local election. Now he's the face of a growing conflict between local Democratic leaders and the federal government under the Trump administration. The story is no longer just about budgets or campaign promises. It's about power, authority, and who gets to enforce the law in America's biggest city. For Brad Lander, the mayoral race just got a lot more complicated, and the stakes have never been higher. His identity as a numbers guy has been overshadowed by his new role as a symbol of resistance. The stage for this political drama was 26 Federal Plaza, home to New York's federal immigration court. It's a place that sees heartbreak and hope every single day. On this particular Tuesday, Brad Lander was there for what his campaign called court watching, something he had apparently done twice before. He was there to support and observe, acting as a visible ally to immigrants navigating the complex and often intimidating legal system. The plan was simple: escort a defendant out of a hearing, showing solidarity and providing a sense of safety. But things did not go according to plan. What happened next was captured on video, turning a quiet act of support into a chaotic and physical confrontation that echoed far beyond the courthouse walls. As Lander and the defendant he was accompanying left the hearing, they were approached by several men, some of them wearing masks. According to Lander's wife, Meg Barnett, who was present, Lander attempted to link arms with the man. This simple gesture seems to have been the trigger. The men, who were federal agents from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, moved in swiftly. The video footage shows a messy and confusing scene. Lander is seen being pushed and pulled down a hallway by the agents. He can be heard repeatedly saying, "I am not obstructing," and asking the agents if they have a judicial warrant for their actions. The situation escalated quickly from a tense standoff to a physical altercation. The agents' response was forceful and decisive. Lander was ultimately detained, accused of assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer. It was a shocking sight, a major New York City official being physically manhandled and arrested by federal agents inside a federal building. The incident highlights the intense and often volatile environment surrounding immigration enforcement. For Lander, it was a moment where his political activism met the stark reality of federal power. His campaign spokesperson, Dora Piketch, later confirmed he was taken by masked agents and detained by ICE, framing the event as an aggressive act by an overzealous agency. After being held, Lander was eventually released, but the story was already exploding across news outlets and social media. The clash was more than just a momentary scuffle. It was a powerful visual representation of the deep divisions in the country. On one side, you have a local politician actively trying to shield an individual from federal authorities. On the other, you have federal agents determined to carry out their duties, viewing any interference as a direct challenge to their authority. The hallway at 26 Federal Plaza became a microcosm of a much larger national battle, with Brad Lander finding himself right in the middle of the fray. The moment news of the arrest broke, the political world erupted. It was like someone had thrown a grenade into an already tense room. Lander's own team was the first to react, framing the incident in the starkest terms possible. His wife, Meg Barnett, who witnessed the entire event, called the agent's actions shocking and unacceptable. Her first-hand account painted a picture of unprovoked aggression, transforming a moment of solidarity into a violent confrontation. The campaign quickly amplified this message, ensuring that their side of the story, one of a public servant being unjustly targeted, was heard loud and clear. This narrative was crucial in shaping the initial public perception of the event. Of course, the federal government had a very different take. The Department of Homeland Security fired back with a strong statement that pulled no punches. Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin accused politicians of seeking attention at the expense of law enforcement safety. It is wrong that politicians seeking higher office undermine law enforcement safety to get a viral moment, she said, directly implying Lander's actions were a calculated political stunt. She added a stern warning: media group, law enforcement officers in uniform, police tape at scene, government official making stern warning at stock, distribute_equally. No one is above the law, and if you lay a hand on a law enforcement officer, you will face consequences. The DHS statement was a clear attempt to reframe the narrative from one of federal overreach to one of a politician obstructing justice. The incident immediately split the field of mayoral candidates, drawing sharp lines between them. Zohran Mamdani, a fellow candidate who has cross-endorsed Lander, didn't mince words, calling the arrest straight-up fascism. This sentiment was echoed by other progressives who saw the heavy-handed tactics as a dangerous abuse of power. On the other hand, the race's front-runner, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, used the event to attack the Trump administration directly. He blamed the incident on the extreme thuggery of Trump's ICE out of control, skillfully shifting the focus away from Lander's specific actions and onto the broader political context. It was a masterclass in political maneuvering, using a rival's crisis to score points against a common enemy. This spectrum of reactions demonstrates just how polarized the issue has become. For some, Lander is a hero, a courageous leader willing to put his body on the line to protect the vulnerable. For others, he is an opportunist, recklessly interfering with law enforcement for political gain. There is very little middle ground. The debate is no longer just about immigration policy. It's about the fundamental role of law enforcement and the responsibilities of elected officials. The arrest has become a litmus test, forcing politicians and voters alike to choose a side in a conflict that goes to the very heart of America's political identity. Brad Lander's arrest wasn't an isolated incident. It was the latest flashpoint in a growing and increasingly tense feud between Democratic officials and federal immigration authorities under the Trump administration. This is a pattern we've been seeing more and more. Politicians who were once content to issue press releases are now showing up in person, creating direct confrontations with federal officers. Just last month, in May 2025, Newark Mayor Ras Baraka was arrested under similar circumstances outside an ICE facility. He didn't just accept the arrest. He has since filed a lawsuit against a top Trump lawyer, alleging false arrest and malicious prosecution, escalating the fight from the streets to the courts. The battleground isn't just limited to ICE facilities either. The conflict has even spilled into the halls of Congress. On June 2, 2025, just a couple of weeks before Lander's arrest, a DHS officer actually handcuffed a staffer for Representative Jerry Nadler inside the congressman's own office. This move was seen as a brazen escalation, a direct challenge to a sitting member of Congress. In response, Nadler immediately announced he would seek a full congressional investigation into the incident. These events, taken together, paint a picture of a federal administration that is becoming more aggressive in its tactics and local officials who are becoming more defiant in their resistance. These confrontations are incredibly significant. especially for cities like New York that have large immigrant populations and a long history of welcoming newcomers. The city's leaders see themselves as protectors of their residents, regardless of their immigration status. When federal agents use aggressive tactics on their turf, it's seen as a direct assault on the city's values and autonomy. This creates a high-stakes debate over jurisdiction and authority. Who is in charge? The local elected officials who answer to the people of the city, or the federal agents who answer to the administration in Washington, D.C.? The answer to that question is becoming blurrier and more contentious every day. Ultimately, this story matters far beyond the 5 boroughs of New York City. It touches on fundamental questions about the balance of power, the rule of law, and the nature of political protest in a deeply divided nation. Are politicians who physically intervene in law enforcement operations obstructing justice, or are they performing their duty to protect their constituents? Are federal agents upholding the law, or are they being used as a political tool to intimidate opponents? The arrest of Brad Lander brings all these questions to a boil, as the 2025 mayoral race heats up and the country moves through a turbulent political era. These confrontations are likely to become even more common, making every arrest and every protest a potential new crisis.